the NIL house settlements are having unintended consequences. We talked about that on the show. We've debated this a lot right here on the program. One of the things that I don't think most people understood was that paying players is going to limit opportunities. It's not going to be this expansive, huge new thing where everybody gets paid and everybody's got more opportunities. What have we talked about on this show with the NIL house settlement? The unintended consequences of paying players will eventually turn into fewer players getting paid, And that's exactly what we are looking at. I want to play you this bite from Nebraska head coach Matt Rhule, because he is, and I think you're going to see, Matt's a passionate guy. So seeing Matt stand up on a podium and talk to the media about how passionate he is about his players. But listen to what Matt Rhule says about how the house settlement and the NIL settlements have limited opportunities for players to achieve at the power conference level.
Yeah, the roster limits are a real factor. I mean, it's just, I can't imagine what's going to happen in the next 6 months. And if you're like a coach who's really cares about people, you're going to have to tell guys at the end of the season, like, hey, there's no spot for you here next year. So the guys can go and find somewhere else to go. And like, you have some players probably who are like, I'm not touching the ball enough, or I'm unhappy. And they're like, I'm going to go in the portal. And you think about the effect that's about to happen. The portal's already flooded. So we have 150, and we need to go to 105. That's 45 guys. Now I know some seniors, but we'll add some guys. Just think about 20 to 30 guys from every school having to go into the portal, and the effect it's going to have on FCS, and then on Division II, and then on NAIA and Division III. It's going to be, so to your point, when Marquise and Jamari say, hey, we want to come back, that's 2 more people now that can't be here next year. And so it's going to be really, not just unique. I sometimes say unique. It's going to be a challenge.
You are looking at a space and time in college football where you essentially have to get down to 105. And I agree with Matt. If we cut 45 kids off your roster, some of them are seniors, it's legit 20 to 30 players from every team every season getting into the portal. Who do you think is going to lose? Because it's not going to be the power conferences. And I think very much to Matt Rhule's point, think about Cam Rising. Think about Brant Keithy. Hey, tore my Achilles, did this, did that. I'm going to come back next year instead of going to the NFL. Well, you just took a spot away from somebody. And what that means also is, and I think the flip side of this, if you're a G5 conference, if you're an FCS school, if you are an HBCU, NAIA, you name the lower level of college football, you are getting crushed under the weight of that extra 20 to 35 players per school getting into the portal. I think you look at, speaking of Boise, a guy like Ashton Ginty, those days are over. Because now you are pushing the bottom half of your roster further and further down, from FBS to FCS to wherever, but they're not going to be in the P4. And guys like Ashton Ginty now, especially with this week, and I don't know how many people saw this, contracts going out to recruits from universities. Athletic departments are sending players contracts for guaranteed payment. Here's how much you're going to get. Here's your commitment to the University of Nebraska. And if you say to Ashton Ginty, hey, we're going to pay you $5. Well, Nebraska is going to pay me $25, coach, so I got to roll. Do you think any power conference university, and I mean any, wouldn't add Ashton Ginty today and be happy to do it if they had the opportunity? Absolutely they would.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be a question. It wouldn't even be a question. I think that, the dynamic at play here of the quality of your head coach comes to the forefront now. You look at what Matt said there, and obviously it goes without saying that your head coach's ability to go into the portal and to properly build a roster and to properly form relationships with his players, I think is paramount now, because again, we're well past, hey, well, I've got, 150 kids on my roster, and, I don't have to give a damn about that 147th kid. I don't have to care about like what they think or if they don't like something or if they're upset they're not getting playing time. Like, no, now you're going to have to look at it and say, okay, well, you've got 11 guys on defense and 11 guys on offense on every single play, obviously. So over the course of a season, how many players are we going to need to play one snap, an entire season to get the job done? And I think that's the part that's kind of crazy is like, you're no longer going to get the story of little Jimmy who walked on as the 150th kid and, had some Cinderella existence. Those days are over. And furthermore, I do think that this just widens and exacerbates the separation of classes between the power conferences and everybody else. And, it's hard because it's like there's nothing that the little guy is going to be able to do about this. This is just where the game is going. And so it does beg the question of, hey, if we look around college football and I think about guys like Matt or Deion or Kenny Dillingham in Phoenix or Dabo out east, any head coach you want to look at, what has their stance been on the portal? What has their stance been on how they go about building the roster so far? And how is that going to have to change to accommodate this? And what really strikes me about this is exactly why Nick Saban retired. Nick Saban didn't retire because he got tired of coaching kids.
But listen to what Deion Sanders said last week in the bite we played, and I'm going to play it again because, one, I don't know how many people noticed yesterday, and I know that we've all danced on Lincoln Riley's grave, and everybody's happy that SC sucks, and okay, totally get it. Did anybody notice what happened yesterday? Yeah, this is a 4-star offensive lineman, a left tackle projection. Decommitted from USC. Where is he likely going? Where does it look like he's going? Well, he's going to Colorado.
Yeah.
And I know that Deion can't recruit because y'all told me Deion can't recruit.
Don't believe us.
And y'all told me that Deion doesn't develop.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all told me. And what have I told you? That Deion Sanders is a dominant figure when he walks into your living room or when you come and visit campus in Boulder. And really, what is the NIL house settlement done? We're seeing now conversations happening. Hey, well, I'm going to pick your poison. I'm going to the Boise UNLV game at Allegiant Stadium as a recruit. Well, I'm there for UNLV, but if I happen to run into, the Boise State football captain, because now we're starting to see the visiting team is talking to recruits in the home team stadium.
Yep.
We're starting to see that. And when Deion comes to town, do you think recruits want to talk to him? Do you think recruits on their official visit to Utah want to talk to Deion when they come to we're seeing a different day and time in recruiting. And I go back to this bite from Deion Sanders because I think it is absolutely positively spot on.
I think we get 25 high school players. How many is going to play that freshman year at the most? Let's say 4 or 5, right? And so now you got 20 guys redshirted. So when you go through that spring with that 20 guys redshirted, how many are you going to retain after that spring? Or how many are going to jump in the portal on you? Let's just do it. If any one of you going to go statistically and try to calculate this, I already done it. So it's going to be how many? Half. Okay, why don't I just focus on 10? Guys that can see when we grab a freshman, we expect that guy to play. We're not looking at, hey man, we can just redshirt you, develop you. No. We're looking for you to come in and play some football. I don't give a darn if it's a walk-on, if it's a Cash Cleveland. We expect you to play. So our approach is somewhat different, heavily scrutinized, heavily criticized, but we know what we're doing. So if anybody ever did the homework and the statistics of these young men that people have a class that they say is the number 1 class in the nation, then 5 of those guys play or 4 of those guys play, then the rest go through the spring, then they jump in the portal. Give me those numbers. Don't give me the numbers of where you rank nationally recruiting because it's just like an NFL team. You always say who won the draft. Then the team gets killed all year. You don't say nothing else about it. Who won the draft last year in the NFL? Nobody care right now, right? Exactly.
Do you develop your talent? And I agree with Deion 100% in what you just said. If you are name, image, and likeness guy at Clemson, Dabo, you're a dinosaur already.
In God's name, image, and likeness.
With all due respect.
We built this program on NIL.
If you're not in the portal, if you are not in the NIL business, just retire now.
Program.
If you're Dabo Sweeney, who talks all the time about how that's not how we do business, well, then there is no business you're doing.
Bro, look at the Gundy clip.
Because, yeah, I'm telling you right now, when you look at guys like Mike Gundy, and Mike Gundy is out here talking about how, you know, that what did he say? That
Kids, stop having your agent call me. Stop. We're
negotiations over.
That's what I told the players.
You can just,
There's no negotiating now.
just
Portal's over.
you can enjoy,
All negotiations history. Now we're playing football.
you can enjoy
Just coaching and
crazy
playing
new
football.
conference and a 12-team playoff and
Yeah.
everything being so different, just the newness of it all.
Yeah, and you know the business side of what we do now is we have to have those conversations with them. You know, tell your agent to quit calling us and asking for more money. It's non-negotiable now. Start again in December. So now we're able to direct ourselves just at football, and that part is fun because there's been so much other stuff going on. It's been hard to really focus on football.
Yeah, you're just going to focus on football. You should retire.
Yeah, if you're just going to focus on football, you can just start focusing on losing and your career being, coming to an end, because ultimately that you guys noticed the change that's taken place here. Remember before the season, how many clips did we get? The Boise State head coach, Mike Gundy, Brian Kelly, all these dudes out here talking about, oh, well, we don't need the portal kids. We don't need to pay Buddy out of the portal. We don't want
that
those
kind
kids.
of player doesn't fit
Yeah,
here.
we don't need that kind of player in this family here in Baton Rouge that doesn't win a damn thing under Brian
I'm telling
Kelly.
you right now that the portal is more important than high school recruiting. Is high school recruiting important? Yes. Are the Jordan Seatons of the world that are starting at left tackle as a true freshman? Yes. Is Travis Hunter, who went to an HBCU at Jackson State with Deion, now at Colorado and the best player in college football? That tells me Deion develops. Deion gets in the portal. His defensive line with Warren Sapp, right? Like, I'm listening to Joel Klatt yesterday on The Herd, and Joel Klatt is sitting here talking about how Deion Sanders told him that Warren Sapp was a ship without a sail. He had no direction. He had no purpose. We brought him in. We have him coaching our linemen now, and he's got a purpose, and he's got a direction, and the players are better for it because they're growing and developing.
Yes.
And I sat here yesterday and talked about how their defensive line is winning. And I'm telling you, this is the game we're now playing. And Matt Rhule having an impassioned press conference is exactly what we need in college football. Because when we get into the offseason, when you have kids jumping in the portal in 10 days, I think it is now, the portal opens again in December or 17 days, excuse me. When you lose key players off your roster, when Ollie Gordon, who yesterday, there was a guy on Twitter talking about how Ollie Gordon's definitely transferring. He's not going to the NFL. I think he's the 17th ranked running back in the NFL draft right now. And it would cost him probably $5 million to go to the NFL. And then you add in the NIL money that he is projected to make next year, that it would cost him more than $10 million to go to the NFL right now. Do you really think he's staying at Oak State? I think that's Ollie Gordon is the perfect example of this.
Yeah.
And I think this is the reality that we live in. And if you are Boise State with Ashton Ginty, you should be terrified. Because I don't know how do you keep going forward now with this 105 roster limit? How do you keep Ashton Ginty at Boise State?
Yeah, you don't. And the problem is that, and maybe we need to stop calling it a problem. The reality of the situation is that guys like Ashton Ginty and players that, even if you're an unknown and you start at, a Boise State or, whatever G5 school you want to look at, but then you blow up into this big time recruit in your freshman year, let's say at Boise State, you're going to get poached. And the reality is this turns the lower levels into a feeder system for the power conferences. And that's fine. To me, that's fine. I've been dying on the hill all season long of, hey, the G5 needs their own playoff system, needs their own monetary system, because we're just separating classes here. The conversation can't be, and shouldn't be, frankly, oh, well, the power conferences are robbing the G5 of talent. The reality of the situation is the G5 laid this foundation when they were unable to financially compete with the power schools. And it's not their fault. Right. It's not the power conference's fault. It just is what it is. And ultimately, we got to get to a place where we make peace with the fact that college football is not going back. They're like, I remember during the summer on this show, us all talking about how, well, Monty, what about the kid who wants to go to Missouri and then transfer back to Alabama and then yada, yada. Like, dude, those days are over. Kids are going to go to the biggest programs and play for who they want to play for.
It's over.
And that's it. So all of you guys hating on Deion, all you guys hating on any head coach who has a brand, who's doing it their way. And it, like, I look at Kenny Dillingham in Phoenix, bro. Like, the people who hate on Kenny Dillingham saying that this dude's inexperienced and doesn't know what the hell he's doing, I don't understand how you get off on that. I don't understand where that argument comes from, because this is a guy who's out here taking an NCAA sanctioned program now, potentially, and again, game's on Saturday, we'll have to see what happens, potentially to the Big 12 championship game in 3 weeks. Like this dude's doing it the right way. And I don't know why people are so negative on certain head coaches who are just honest about it, like are just blunt about it.
They just tell. I think you have to truth tell, because how does Mike Gundy walk into a garden variety living room in Texas and say to any major recruit, hey, we're taking care of you on NIL. Hey, how does he do that when he routinely says, don't have your agents call me anymore? Don't get in the portal. Like, how do you do that? And then have Deion Sanders an hour later walk into that same living room and think that you're going to win that recruiting battle? How are you at Oak State competing with Colorado in recruiting and portal? You're not. You're not. And I'd say the same thing to our friends at Salt Lake City at Utah. You're not. And granted, Kyle Whittingham, I think, has been very blunt. We're not competing with this for the same football player. And I agree with that. You're not competing for the same football player at Colorado that you are at Utah. You are never going to get the best quarterback in the portal to come to Utah if Colorado is offering. You're never doing that. You're never getting the best high school quarterback recruit to come to Utah if Colorado is offering. That's just not, the math doesn't add up there.
Yeah.
So I think these are the absolutely perfect examples of unintended consequences. And in the comment section, I guess here's what I'm asking you. Is the NIL house settlement good for college sports? I think we all saw Brinks trucks and dollar signs and, oh man, everybody's making money. No, that's actually not the truth. Fewer people are making money. And it's what America's built on. The top 1% are going to be the earners.
The top 1% make 99% of the money.
That's who it is. That's what it is. Whether we're talking about IRS or whether we're talking about NIL. If you are, and again, I think Ashton Genty's probably going to the league, but let's say he doesn't go to the league. You're telling me he's staying at Boise State. Ollie Gordon's staying at Oak State. I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing that.
Well, and I also think, this thing that Kenny Dillingham said yesterday about not trusting other coaches. Kenny Dillingham's out here yesterday talking about how in recruiting, like, because obviously we all know it's a small world, right? So Kenny Dillingham in his bite goes, hey, I don't trust coaches. I have to meet with the kid in order to feel good about bringing that kid in today's current climate.
Yeah, I don't trust what any other coach tells us. I know that's different from some people. I just don't trust. I got to meet a kid. I got to FaceTime him. I got to talk to him face to face. I got to ask him brutally honest questions. I got to tell him exactly what everybody's saying about you. Like, It's not going to be comfortable. You ready for this conversation? This is what people say you are, right? Do you want to change that? And then I got to get a feel, and our staff has to get a feel for, is that kid real about either changing, what other people are saying about him and trying to change his life around, or does he look away from the camera, kind of tell you what you want to hear, and or blame them? It wasn't me, it was them. And you got to be able to weed through all that quickly with just really transparent, honest, straight to the point conversation.
Yeah, like he's not playing games.
I'd hit that.
Right? Like,
how do you not respect Kenny Dillingham? And so I just will flip this back around on you guys. Is the NIL house settlement good for college sports? And can we now stop vilifying the Deion Sanders of the world, the Kenny Dillinghams of the world? Kenny Dillingham said, I don't believe what your coach is telling me. I'm looking at you in the face on FaceTime, and if I don't like you in this conversation, you're probably not coming here.
And that's it.
What is wrong with that? Why is that a problem? In today's day and age, Deion Sanders and Louis, there's nothing wrong with what he said in that opening conversation, though. But we tend to vilify guys because we don't like how harsh and how blunt the message is. What else are they supposed to do?
Yeah, it's their job to sift through it all. It's their job to figure out who's good and who's not.
Yeah. Usually I talk about Prize Picks here, but after Kevin Durant screwed me last night, I just don't see a need to I would like to
Guys, it's been nice hosting the show.
Do you remember
it's been really good.
Remember you said that I should take James Harden for rebounds yesterday?
No,
I did
remember
not
say that.
Do you remember that comment?
I
seem to remember that.
No.
I seem
fat ass. Excuse me.
I seem to remember
Harden
that.
is not coming through for you, sir.
You said James Larden. Oh my God. Last night was rough. I'm going to be honest with you. Donovan Mitchell, you punk ass. 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists. How many do you think he got?
No.
How many do you think he'd take a guess?
38.5.
How about 14?
Donnie, please.
Prick.
So you needed 39 and he got 14.
How about James Larden? I needed him to have less than 6.5 rebounds. Now go ahead and guess how many he got.
You're the weakest of the weak.
Apparently he had an extra biscuit at breakfast because he got 7. I needed him to get 6. He got 7.
Fat.
And then, of course, that pimp, that sex machine, that dude, the guy you all want to be, Devin Booker.
Wet like I'm booked.
36.5 points, rebounds, and assists. How many do you think he got?
37.
41.
Nice, dude.
It's what I do.
Nice.
I
Good
lose
job.
on Prize Picks.
Really good.
The one-day winning streak is over.
Yep.
But I will say this. I was so unsure of James Larden that I actually went back. And I know this is probably crazy talk. I actually went back and doubled down on college basketball last night, which is akin to the WNBA. And I got to tell you, putting your bread on Alabama is absolutely the right thing to do. I would very much like to thank Grant Nelson for being an absolute pimp with that stash. Have you guys seen? Just go Google search Grant Nelson, Alabama, and look at
Dude's
that mustache.
last name is Nelson. Say less.
That mustache is freaking unbelievable. 17.5 points. He had 23. Pim's come pim, bruh. I should probably never say that again. And then I'd also like to thank the Southern Jaguars for not showing up last night against Texas A&M, because that meant that my guy, who I've never talked about on this show, Wade Taylor the fourth, who had a 13.5 point number and put up 17.
I thought you said Wade Taylor the fourth.
Wade Taylor the fourth, not the third or the fifth. Yeah, I'm going to say that, yeah, my guy balled out. And then I would also, and I'm going to get his name wrong. I only did it because Prize Picks told me to. Graham Ike at Gonzaga.
Yeah,
Hey, Ike this.
Yeah, Ike that.
My guy.
Gonzaga.
My guy last night
Gonzaga.
on a 14.5 point number. Put up 15.
Gonzaga.
15. Your guy put up 10 to win 40.
There you go.
Walked away with 30, broke even.
Nice job.
That's what I love about Prize Picks. All you have to do is win 2 of 3 and you're good to go. I lost 2 of 3, lost $20, won 2 of 3, cleared $30. Your guy walked away with a $10 profit last night.
Yeah.
On Prize Picks. Hook it up. Download the app, Prize Picks. Use the promo code Monty to open up a new Prize Picks account. Tonight is Thursday Night Football. Coming up at 7:30-ish, about an hour from now, we'll do Thursday Night Football on Prize Picks. So stick around for that. Super easy. You open up a new Prize Picks account. You use the promo code Monty, make a $5 deposit. They'll match it instantly with $50. Dude, you can play all season long on $50. Hook it up. Let's rock and roll. First guy in this morning was a paid comment. Matt Ritson, Hawaii AD got fired on bad performance on job.